Good evening and welcome to ESA, which this week features film from California, now the home of John Lydon, alias Johnny Rotten, whose travels, I can reliably inform you, have hardly changed him at all, just a little less spit and a bit more polish, perhaps. I've been speaking to Stevie Wonder about his childhood years with Motown and about that other great Motown star, Marvin Gaye, whose music and personality had such an influence on him.
Reviewing singles with us is heavy metal glamour puss Dee Snider of Twisted Sister, the boy George of heavy metal. We've also got film of music boffin Thomas Dolby, and playing live in the studio after a long absence from the music scene, Chris Difford and Glenn Tilbrook, the boys behind Squeeze, and Alison Moyet, who you may remember better as Alf of Yazoo.
But we start with news of a tour that's been billed as the greatest in pop history. That, of course, is the forthcoming series of concerts by Michael Jackson and his brothers, which is due to start in Kansas City on July the 6th. There are apparently no plans to come to Britain. Huge sums of money are being talked about. Pepsi-Cola, for instance, is spending about $60 million this summer in return for the Jacksons advertising their soft drink on the tour and in TV commercials. The Jacksons have become an institution in the last 2 decades, since young Michael began charming the audiences and displaying the prodigious talent that has shot him into the position of megastar in the 80s. In 2 weeks' time, the Jacksons take to the road for an historic tour. Not only will it be the last time Michael appears with his brothers, but it will make more money than any other tour has ever made, as Paul Grine of Billboard magazine explained to us in Los Angeles last week.
It's probably going to be the biggest grossing tour in the history of the concert business. It's estimated that it'll gross, if it does sell out business as expected, $57.6 million before it comes to its conclusion in October. That would make it the biggest grossing tour in history, ahead of the Rolling Stones in 1981 and Journey in '83.
The Jacksons have asked for a guarantee of $41 million from the tour, which means the promoters have to charge $30 a ticket. That's about £23. Each ticket will be the same price whether you sit in the front row or right at the back.
It's a lot of money for anybody, and most certainly because Michael Jackson's fans are largely young kids, black kids in the inner cities. And those people especially will be hard-pressed to go to the show. So effectively, that portion of Michael's audience is going to be excluded by a $30 ticket.
But Michael Jackson is undoubtedly the biggest draw in the music industry since the Beatles, and therefore can genuinely expect to command the highest guarantee, although the money from this tour will be split evenly between all the Jacksons, Michael getting exactly the same amount as Tito.
Michael is doing this tour pretty much as a favor to his brothers, a send-off to the Jacksons, who will continue just as a performing unit minus Michael.
So for the thousands of fans who will be lucky enough to get tickets for this summer's tour, it'll be the last opportunity to see the Jacksons with their most famous brother. Michael's reputed fear of stage performance probably means that we'll never again see him on a concert tour, in America or anywhere else.
I'd be very surprised if Michael went out again. Possibly he'll do an extended run on Broadway, or he'll do other live performance situations, but not a cross-country tour of this nature where it would be Michael Jackson on the marquee. In excess of 30 million people around the world bought Thriller, Michael Jackson's smash album, so I should think they'll have no problem selling out. Even though the ticket is priced very high, there's little doubt that there will be several times more demand for each ticket than there are a number of tickets.
And now a young lady who made some great records with Vince Clarke as Yazoo. Here's her first solo single, produced and co-written by hot producers Swain and Jolly. It's Alison Moyet and her single called Love Resurrection.
What can I do to make light of this down, down day? What switch can I pull to illuminate the way? barren land. Teach me to harvest, I want you to grow in my hand. Let's be optimistic, let's say that we won't toil in vain. If we pull together, we'll never fall apart again. We all need a love, just a little divine intervention. We all need a love, just a little divine intervention. We need a love, just a little divine intervention. Show me one direction, I will not question again. No, no, for a warm injection is all I need to calm the pain. We all need a love, just a little divine intervention. We all need a love, just a little divine intervention. With love, resurrection. Hey. Ooh, we need a love, resurrection, just a little divine intervention. Resurrection, resurrection, just a little divine intervention. Resurrection, just a little divine resurrection.
Actually, I don't think my dad would take you coming home to our house, actually, if my sister brought your own.
Oh, come on now. I really think he wouldn't mind.
And listen, Dee Snider, welcome to Hearsay. Now, you've been called the Boy George of heavy metal. How'd you take to that?
Well, if I wanted to climb over the camera and punch you in the face, to tell you the truth, but I don't quite agree with that proclamation. I'm not a gender bender. I'm a rock and roller, that's all. A little strange, maybe, a little weird, yes, but basically just a nice guy. I've been with you all day, aren't I, a nice guy?
I don't know, I'm not so sure, actually. I haven't made my mind up yet. So why all the makeup, then? What's with the makeup? Why not just go out there and play rock and roll?
Well, when I was growing up and watching Bowie and Alice Cooper, I thought that was the way to rock and roll. You know, I liked the staging, I liked the excitement of the show. I wanted to carry on. As far as feminine kind of makeup goes, we just have sort of a tough act to start with, so we figured it'd be kind of shocking for us to come out like this.
So I was going to say, who's the prettiest, you or Boy George?
Boy George can have it.
All right, you up on the pop scene?
Am I up? Oh, yes, very up.
Well, we're going to find out. Now, the fair city of Glasgow has certainly been a hive of activity for the past few years, and one group who lately have joined the First Division ranks are a gang of jock rockers called the Bluebells, who had their first hit recently with I'm Falling. Their new single, entitled Young at Heart, is a cross between Come On Eileen and Karma Chameleon, if you can imagine that. It's well groovy, though, as is the video. Spot the celebrity in this.
Young at heart, yet what a start. Old before their time. They married young, for love at last was their only crime. How come I love them now? How come I love them more? Young at heart, you're so young at heart. Young at heart, yet not a chance to be a child at all.
I'm in love with that girl, Claire Grogan. Great record, I love that. The Bluebells, their new single. Dee, did that set you on fire?
Well, my immediate reaction was a little one of these. kind of things, but I decided I'll try and be fair. You know, being a headbanger that I am, I sort of hate all this stuff, but try and be fair.
Why? Why'd you hate it, though?
Why? It's sort of a built-in thing, you know? I mean, they hate us, we hate them kind of thing. It seems everybody's down on heavy metal, so all the heavy metal kids are, well, we hate you, too. So, but I want to be fair. Be fair, D, right? You said be fair, right? I'm trying to be fair. And I'll just give it a real listen. I listened to this whole record twice, and it's all right. I mean, it's kind of wimpy.
I was going to say...
It's old style, though. It's like, to me, it's like country western 50s kind of thing that was big in the state when I was like 2 years old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I liked the video. I thought the video was kind of nice.
I was going to say, you know, you call them wimpy. I mean, your dad's a policeman. What does he think about you, you know, dressing up like that and doing that sort of thing?
My dad's never had any problem with whether I was a heterosexual or not, if that's what you mean. I mean, you know, he used to be come back with the ladies, you know, and he knew everything was all right. Just because I was wearing fishnet stockings didn't mean anything was wrong with me.
Oh, talking of fishnet stockings, that leads us on to our next record. Now, a few years ago, Prince was considered very outrageous. A naughty but nice pop star your mother definitely wouldn't like that. I mean, you're a man, D. I mean, is he a man's man? I mean, you tell me.
It's obvious he directed it himself. Prince, let's see. Prince, basically, I like the way he dresses. I like the way he moves. But he should have finished the song. I mean, that sounds to me like a rhythm track, just basically drums and some vocals. You keep going, where's the guitar? Where's the song going to? And I'm not really into that thing. I don't like to see a man put a soundtrack to an orgasm, and that's basically what he's doing on that record, and so it's just not for me. So I guess he's trying to prove he's a man. I guess he must be. He was on top.
All right, I can't wait to see what you say about the next record. Now, apart from Knives and Forks, Sheffield has to be famous for that dynamic five-piece, The Human League. Now, the LP Dares certainly put them well and truly on the pop map. Their follow-up, however, Hysteria, has been rather coldly received. Here's another single from it. This one's called Life on Your Own, and the accompanying video finds the Mighty League in a rather ultravox mood. And by that, I mean prophesizing yet another nuclear holocaust.
Winter is approaching, there's snow upon the ground. It's good of you to visit me, I'm glad you came around. I don't know how you found me, I didn't let you know. I only moved to this address about a week ago. I guess you think I ran out, but that's not true. Other people settle down, I never do. I always have to move on, just have to go. I've often wondered why that is, I'd like to say, but I just don't know. I guess you always wanted life on your own. I guess you always wanted life on your own. Up here the summer's shorter.
Right, that's The Human League, the new one from them. D?
I'm really impressed. I mean, you could see how thrilled I was with that song.
I know, you really were getting on down to that.
Yeah, I know.
weren't
I was up on my feet a few seconds ago. Really, I was. My shoes are smoking. Actually, again, just seems to go over my head or between my legs. I'm not sure where, but it, you know, underneath. Come on, get it together, guy.
Now listen, I mean,
where's your? I mean, I can't handle that kind of stuff. The keyboard player, I know for a fact, loves Twisted Sister. I don't know what he's doing in that band, but he's, you know. It's just not for me. But then again, just because I don't like these records, they'll probably be big hits.
I was going to say, I mean, you know, you're slagging all this stuff off. I mean, what about, you know, your music? I mean, a lot of people don't like that.
Want me to slag off my music?
Eh?
You want me to slag off my own music?
Why don't you do it?
Well,
then you can hit yourself.
Hi there. I just happen to have this with me, our new single. We're not... Oh,
come on, get on with it.
I'm sorry.
I mean, what about people criticising Twisted Sister? I mean, you know, the macho lyrics and the image and everything else that goes with it.
Well, it's okay. They don't have to like it. It's not for everybody.
All right, well, you said
told me you're a
you?
closet headbanger anyway. He's got a Thin Lizzy album. He told me a Thin Lizzy album.
Brothers.
He was singing The Boys Are Back in Town in the cafeteria out there. He was, I swear. And he likes Motorhead, too. He told me he likes Motorhead.
Be quiet, you.
He's got studded underwear.
Lovable Scouser Pete Wiley, the lead singer of Wild, don't believe any of that. Maybe an opinion so-and-so, but at least he's got something to say. Unlike a lot of other pop people, unlike him. Well, since Story of the Blues, he's been off the scene, but I can happily tell you the rocker is back, with a good record as well, rather appropriately entitled, Come Back. Right, that's Pete Wiley, the Mighty One, their new single, Come Back. Dee, are you glad that they've come back or what? Are you just glad that, you know, they should have kept away?
All right, this was the best one out of the four. I mean, I've got to pick something, right? I've got to say something. I mean, the song's okay. Happen to like 50s and oldies and Phil Spector productions, and it's obvious that that's what he's into and that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get that 50s feel with the girls in the background, and he's achieved it to a certain extent, and I can appreciate it to, you know, a certain amount. If it wasn't for the melody, it'd be perfect.
All right, but listen, there's got to be, you know, a Twisted Sister fan somewhere out there in TV land.
I know there's one or two.
I mean, what happens next for you lot?
Well, after last night at the Hammersmith, which you didn't show up for, he said he was coming to the Hammersmith, and he went to see Russ Abbott instead, and I hope he was real funny.
And he was much better.
And he wore these shoes, okay, these shoes to see Russ Abbott, and he was offended as well as I am. It's perfectly disgraceful way for any person to dress.
Next year? Stop changing
We're going
the
over.
subject.
We're going over to. Where's the camera? Is that the one? We're going to Germany to do a TV show over there where they like us, and then we're going back to the States to tour. Then we'll be back here in the fall to tour some more in the UK, a major UK tour.
I can wait for that. Thanks, Steve.
I bet
Coming
you
up
can.
after the break, Dippin' and Tilbrook and the Magnus Pike of Pop, Thomas Dolby. Plus, wait for this, the one and only Stevie Wonder. Bye-bye.
In the heart of deepest Midori lies the melon forest. There we discovered the statue of the Midori god with eyes of luminous green, guarding the secret of Midori liqueur, the exotic drink with the magic of melons, guarding the knowledge of how far Midori will go to refresh you on its own as a liqueur or mixing it with whatever takes your fancy. It's so different we just had to bring it back for civilization. Somehow, new Midori melon liqueur dare to be different.
This week at Our Price, the pros and cons of hitchhiking. Roger Waters, founder member of Pink Floyd, with music from his new album, The Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking. You'll find it in the Our Price Top 60 for only $4.79. Look for the new releases each week when you...
Get down to Our Price, Our Price.
Has it ever occurred to you that your hair is a delicate, organically grown fibre? So don't treat it as if it was synthetic. Use Henara. Because Henara contains henna. And henna is the oldest conditioner known to man. Like your hair, it grows organically. Shampoos and conditioners by Henara. Never forget your hair is natural.
Last year, the AA dealt with 1 million more calls than any other motoring organisation. In fact, they attended, on average, a breakdown every 14 seconds. Which could mean around 6,000 motorists a day are convinced that joining the world's largest motoring organisation was about the best thing they ever did. Join the AA. It's great to know you belong.
Visit the Great Texas Sale with thousands of bargains like these hardwood cabinet doors. Half price. Save now at the Texas Sale. It's magic.
Welcome back. Now, next week, one of Pop's more interesting characters, Thomas Dolby, ends his world tour at the Dominion Theatre in London. Now, Dolby, whose latest record is called Dissidence, has sometimes been called the Mad Professor of Pop because of his quirky electro songs and videos, one of which, He Blinded Me With Science, uses Nutty Boy Magnus Pike. So what's he all about? We sent along one of our reporters to interview this man of 1,000 faces.
Yeah, all I do is pretty good, really.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
we're ready. We're rolling now.
Just get us a bit more level, man. Yeah. Ow! Okay. Hearsay. The Thomas Dolby interview. Oh, sorry. wanted to make a film that was kind of about a clandestine meeting of subversive writers. And although it's got a sort of Cold War Iron Curtain flavour to it, it's really set in England, which I found was more intimidating in a way. Thomas, over the years, we've seen you in various different guises, as mad professor, as inventor, explorer, and now in Dissidence as a kind of subversive writer. Would you say that you slip in and out of these various different personas with remarkable ease? Because that's what I find. When is the real Thomas Dolby going to stand up? I see this kind of parallel in a way between what I do and the silent movie heroes. I always felt that I was a kind of underdog character, you know. I wasn't a sort of macho rock star with a big codpiece and doing scissor jumps in front of the drum riser in great pools of dry ice or anything like that. And I think it was always my personality that was the best thing I had going for me, not my mug. And so that's why I saw this kind of similarity between what I was doing and the silent movie heroes, people like Chaplin and Keaton and Lloyd. Because in a way, a video is very similar. You don't have any dialogue to help you out. And so I try and get a little bit of slapstick humour into what I do. You've just actually finished a lengthy world tour. How does all of this translate into a live situation? Because you're really known more as a studio artist than a video artist. What happens when you get out there on stage? A lot of people have been introduced to me through my videos. And in the videos, there are a lot of visual associations and things going on which it would be difficult to get over live. So I tend to use some film projection on stage. And I've re-edited a lot of the footage that I ever shot to illustrate what I'm singing about on stage in screens dotted about the place. So I tend to focus people's attention first on what's happening on stage, then maybe kill the lights, bring up something on the screen and back to the stage again. At other points in the set, I'm happy just to sit there and play and sing. And some parts of the set you'll see me being a kind of latter-day Barry Manilow, just sitting playing a grand piano and singing in a song like, for example, I Scare Myself.
I scare myself just thinking about you. I scare myself when I'm without you. I scare myself the moment that you're gone. I scare myself and I let my thoughts run. And when I'm running, I keep thinking of you.
Sublime Mirror Science was a strange phenomenon because to the Americans it was very, very English. It was like Monty Python, or else it was like Lady Di or Brideshead Revisited or something like that, you know. There was this strange English boffin character having this sort of zany time by a lake and on the psychiatrist's couch and everything. I've always felt there was a big scope to what I did. You know, at one end there was Sublime Mirror Science, which was fairly shallow, fairly frivolous. At the other end there's the more experimental, more avant-garde stuff. And I've always felt that commercially the one would pay for the other. If I can interest 1 million people in my album because they hear something like Sublime Mirror Science, which is very accessible, and then they go out and buy the album and find that the stuff on the album is a lot more experimental, a lot more intense, then I think that justifies it in a way.
She blinded me with science. She blinded me with science. Fell into geometry. When she's dancing next to me.
A lot of bands tend to still view promo videos as a means of promoting their record, just a promotional device and nothing more. And I've always seen it as a great opportunity to expand my ideas and the feelings that went into the song originally. And I think that possibly the best way for me to do that is to direct myself. Whether I'd be ready yet to do a feature, I don't really know. But acting is something that I've always felt I'd like to turn my hand to, if the right script comes along, as they say. Finally, Thomas, just tell me this. If you weren't Thomas Dolby, who would you like to be? Well, strangely enough, I've always really fancied being a TV presenter, you know. I mean, like yourself, for example. I was wondering, in fact, whether maybe we could change places for a while. Well, that can be arranged, mate. Here. Oh, thanks very much. Indeed. I'm going to enjoy this. Feels great. OK, well, we've been talking to Thomas Dolby. Now back to the studio.
That was Thomas Dolby on Thomas Dolby. Remember Labelled with Love, Cool for Cats and Up the Junction, all hits written by these two guys, Chris Difford and Glenn Tilbrook, when they were with Squeeze, which broke up almost 2 years ago now. At long last, they've recorded a new album under their own name, and here's the single, Love's Crashing Waves.
Malicious gossip won't ever profit when he says it's foundation. There are subscribers whose appetizers are pieces of conversation. Concocted rumors by out-of-tuners are the most in love's concerto. As long as we know at our piano we're serving it with our potato. Love's crashing wave upon the rocks, seen by some, by you it's not. But you won't drown. Love is your town. Love is found for all to want. Unfounded scandal I cannot handle when it's been so diluted. With careful word and love can be burning in the fire unconstituted. So my prescription is my addiction when love is social surrounding. To show your colors to all those others who think that your love is drowning. Love's crashing wave upon the rocks, seen by some, by you it's not. But you won't drown. Love is your town. Love is found for all to want. Love's crashing wave upon the rocks, seen by some, by you it's not. But you won't drown. Love is your town. Love is found for all to want.
Difford and Tilbrook. Well, next Wednesday in Birmingham, Stevie Wonder starts his British tour. The blind child prodigy, who had his first #1 with Fingertips when he was 13, grew up to become the most popular black performer of the 70s and 80s, until that other former boy genius, Michael Jackson, came along. But Wonder is still the most accomplished black musician of his generation, mixing electronic sophistication with the deepest traditions of soul. I spoke to him in Los Angeles and asked him first about his early musical memories. Never having seen a musical instrument, what images had come to mind when he first heard music?
I remember thinking when I heard guitars playing, it reminded me of butter. You know, and I think that was because I was, you know, there were like a lot of different jazz musicians that I heard. My, I guess, first memory, I thought of even Wes Montgomery as I grew older to know that was him, was of that, of a warm kind of, you know, buttery kind of thing. And I used to think when I would hear the rain and smell the, you know, the smell of rain, you know, the moisture in the air, I would think of cornflakes. Do you know what cornflakes are in England?
Oh yes, we have cornflakes.
But I mean, you know, I'm from Brixton.
How did Motown treat you as an 11-year-old with a hit record, and how did the kids at school treat you?
13, I was with a hit record. 11.
Because you signed to Motown when you were
11, yeah. And we were recording a little before the actual signing, and then after, quite naturally, the signing. They treated me Everyone that was over 11 years old was my parent. So that meant like all of the Marvelettes saw themselves as being my parents, all of the Supremes, even though they were just a little older than me, and my parents, the whole vibe. And it was a family connection. Motown, the recording studio, you know, itself had all kinds of instruments in it, and I almost saw that as being like, you know, Christmas time. It's going on, play the drums, oh, there's drums, let me play the organ, oh, there's piano, let me play the piano. So it was fun to me, and I never have left the mode of music being fun.
Were you well behaved in those days, in those early days?
Well, I mean, I was quite naturally, you know, you're mischievous, you know.
What kind of things did you do?
You know, maybe I would, you know, in the bathroom or run the sink over with water or whatever, you know, or try to eat more candy than I'm supposed to, but nothing major, you know, nothing major, and mostly for the most part, I was. I really was so interested in like walkie-talkies and things like that, you know, so, and radios and how they worked, and I had a radio that I took apart and made a little transmitter out of it and tried to broadcast. I did broadcast. I had a little radio station in my basement of my house and those sort of things.
What sort of music did you play on it?
Non-stop, Stevie Wonder. Good, you want to hear some Stevie Wonder? Well, turn it to... No. I played the records that I could afford not to buy, and I got them free. Motown, and some other records we got. You know, we've got our own.
So you were an early
Beatles stuff when I was early Beatles stuff.
Well, who else was exciting you musically then?
I mean, I know when I heard Ray Charles for the first time, I didn't know he was blind. But boy, when I found out he was, I went out and bought all his records. No, I'm kidding you. No, but, you know, I mean, the point is, he was a talented man. I used to listen to a lot of Neil Sedaka stuff, you know. I like that a lot. There have been many influences. I like the Five Blind Boys. I like the Staple Singers, you know.
Sorry, was Marvin Gaye an influence on you?
Of course. Of course. That's my heart. You know that. Marvin really opened the door in the real sense to dealing with the real social issues. I mean, really busting it out. I think he and Bob Dylan are really the ones that really went right to the throat. There was no question about what they were talking about. It wasn't like, oh, well, let's maybe say it this way so it's not really exactly clear. I mean, they, along with, yes, the Beatles, but I'm just saying that these two people really went for it, and they really spoke it out.
Well, you spoke at Marvin's funeral, and you wrote a song in tribute to him.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in touch with him before his death?
I had gone to Marvin's last concert that he did in Los Angeles, the Greek Theater, and I saw him after the show, and of course we embraced. We were very happy to see each other, and I knew that he was tired physically. I, you know, as to getting into what he was doing or why or what was happening, even if I knew, I wouldn't really speak on, because that is probably not as, that is nowhere near as big as the fact that he has given us a reservoir of music, of sound pictures, of inspiration that will live far beyond all of our lives. And he was a very brilliant man, very brilliant man. A very learned man. And from just the times that we talked, I know that he had read a lot. and he had a lot of different ideas about a lot of things. I think lots of times, probably the one thing, not saying specifically anyone, but I think that artists sometimes, they don't realize that the people that they communicate with, meaning that public, that person that they may never meet, might understand them far better than that person that's with them every day. Because they're giving a direct statement. That vibrations say, hey, this is from that person's heart.
Well, recently, you've been more concerned with politics than music. You've been helping Jesse Jackson's campaign. Why did you get involved?
Well, first of all, Jesse Jackson is a brilliant man. He just so happens to be black, by the way, you know, so what? But I think he's a very brilliant man. And as I said recently, when I went to one of the rallies that they had, that my reason for being there today was not based on the color of his skin being the same as mine. My reason for voting for him was not based on him being a black man. And my reason for being there was though, because unfortunately, people were not able to, many people were not able to see that they must look far beneath the skin and look at what the man is saying. Again, he's a very brilliant man, and I think he has brought to front many topics that that people, not only here in this country, but throughout the world, need to really understand. That many politicians throughout the world need to understand that these are the concerns of people. You see, I think that the one thing that he has done is he has penetrated into those people who very much so stereotype and said, oh, well, this guy, Jesse Jackson, he's not only can he preach, but he's a smart man.
And what I know about computers could be written on the back of a microchip with capital letters. Still, they tell me that it's big business and there's a lot of money to be made. So I've come along to the computer fair at Earl's Court, and I thought that I'd have the assistance of an expert. This is Robic, and he's going to show me around, aren't you, darling?
Hello, Gary. Hello, viewers.
Come on, let's get going.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I always think too. Gary, come and look at this. Your fame has gone ahead of you. Look, Wheelin' Wally's should be right up your street.
Less of that, you. Less of that. You can be replaced.
Very well.
Some great names, though. Wheelin' Wally.
It does look jolly good, doesn't it?
Wally goes to Ryman. I tell you what, I saw a good game over there. It might be right for you. Right, there's a lot of strangers here today. Loads of people wearing suits I don't know from Adam. But I recognise this fellow, the legendary Jeff Wayne. Now, what are you doing down here?
Well, I've come to see that game there.
So go on, tell us about it.
Well, it's a video game based upon the War of the Worlds album that I did. And it goes back about 2 years ago, where I thought some of the musical phrases and the graphics particularly lent themselves to a game.
Are you a computer game freak yourself?
Well, I've played computer games, but really most of my music in the last several years has been all computer-based. And that's where the linking up of the two ideas came about. So it's from that point of view that I was interested.
Nick Alexander from Virgin Games, another part of the Branson Empire. Tell us about Virgin Games.
Well, we started about 18 months ago and have put out about 50 games now for a variety of different home computers. computer charts change as rapidly as the record charts, and the titles come and go very rapidly. Probably Jet Set Willy, which was a
lovely,
great game. Follow-up to Manic Miner is #1 at the moment. Our best game is still Falcon Patrol, which is an elaborate space shoot-'em-up game,
right.
which has gone very nicely.
So who actually designs these games for you?
We've got around 40 programmers, most of whom are working from their homes and sending stuff in. We've got 5 people working full-time in the office. The majority of them are 18 and under, and some of them are still at school.
Oh, well, I've read all the literature, I've seen all the games, but it's still not for me. I think I'll stick with the music. Robic, hit it! Mind the stairs!
You seem very close to that robot, Crowley. Do you think we'll get him reviewing the singers with you next week?
I'm not sure about that. Actually, he's the first gender-bender robot. He was after me all morning, would not leave me alone. I pulled there.
Well, that exhibition continues tomorrow. But now, Johnny Rotten. And 8 years after the explosion of bondage trousers and safety pins on the streets of Britain, the man credited, or blamed by some, with inventing punk rock, has taken himself off to the swimming pools and palm trees of Los Angeles, the very place punk rockers once professed to despise. Los Angeles, home of the stars, where even the most notorious figures of American culture are painted larger than life. Here in the sunshine of California, punk lives on in the fashionable stores of West Hollywood, and the king of punk has taken up residence among the palm trees of the West Coast.
Now, but listen, you can't let a palm tree fool you. That don't make it a better place. I mean, it is a dungeon, just like everywhere else. It's all right, it's a sprawling urban wasteland. Just like Liverpool, with a few palm trees, that's all. It's the only difference.
Then why are you here in LA? You could be anywhere.
It's convenient. It's nearer to Japan.
Why is Japan important?
Because I liked it. And I've never been to Australia, and I'm definitely heading now. I'm going to start somewhere. It can't be London. You can't start in the rain.
Do you feel that you have to start all over again now?
No.
Do you feel that the climate here is easier for you to...
No, the climate's terrible. It's too hot.
No, I mean
And I'm allergic to water.
The emotional climate, come on.
He didn't believe me. Emotional climate?
You know what I mean.
No, right, to hell with that. That doesn't matter. No, I'm nearer to where I want to get to, so that's fine. It's totally convenient geographically. But yes, I am allergic to water. I found out recently. I can't wash no more, so I really am Mr. Rotten, whether I like it or not.
You're allergic to water?
Yep.
But all sorts of water?
All sorts of water, except booze.
Well, what's the reaction to you over here? I mean, how do people react to you here? Presumably differently to the way that they
well,
react to
not
you.
as badly as they do in, say, in London, where it's like, violence is usually the opening statement, you know. Oh, you're really Johnny Rotten, bet I could beat you up. You don't get that here. People are more sensible.
Do you feel that, you know, punk is dead, and that you really have to create a new image for yourself? Do you feel burdened by the fact that...
I never made the label punk. Ever. That's a Caroline Coons statement. The fact that I've been branded with that is fine, all right, but I'm not going to have to carry on wearing a dirty leather jacket because the Daily Mirror told me that's what punks wear. That's not what it's about. I get on doing what I want. That's the way I began, that's the way I always will be. You don't ever tell me what to wear or what to do or where to be or how to do it. Now I'm going to take my jacket off and ruin your backdrop because you told me not to.
What about you and McLaren?
Malcolm McLaren.
Yeah. Because you've had a few...
How predictable.
Well, you've had a few court battles, haven't you? I mean, that's taken up a lot of your time. Has that stopped you from...
I'd say our friendship is zero. Our business negotiations is, as far as progression goes, zero, because the man's just obstropholous just for the sheer hell of it. I mean, he carries a lot of resentment. He has to. He has to live in the past, because that's his only credibility. I don't.
Because you had to change your name, didn't you? You had to go call yourself John Lydon.
No, I had to go to court to get my name back, because he claimed it was his property. Oh, dear. And I won.
But those battles are still going on, are they not?
No. They'll soon be resolved.
Because I interviewed McLaren some time ago.
You told me.
And he was saying that he had hoped to get the Pistols, of course, without Sid back. And they'd been offered a lot of money by an American promoter. He said that there was a lot of money that was...
All right, look, the man approached me, right, and I told him it was a joke, because there's not one of us that would be prepared to work with him. That's the entire band, including Sid, dead or alive. He wouldn't work with him ever again. Neither would any of us. Well, tell them about the album. It's really terrific.
Well, you tell them about the album.
It's your job to ask me. It's blinking beautiful. It really is. It's something special, boys and girls. You'll love it. It caters for everybody. The whole family can sit down and enjoy this particular piece of music. It's just got it all. It's got quizzes. How did they write that song? It's just where it's at, man. It should be out, what, about 2 weeks, I hope. It should have been out a lot sooner, but you see, I had to go through this particular legal situation with Virgin that delayed the release.
Is there going to be a single from the album?
Here, Love Song, in England, Bad Life, which Virgin apparently have released without promoting. And it is available in the shops right now, but of course they deemed it necessary not to mention that.
Have you done the ubiquitous promotional video for it?
I have, and they have it.
Could we have a look at that?
Now?
Yeah, we'll show it now.
Yes, here it is. I just happen to have one on hand.
Johnny, true to form in LA. And that's it for this week. Next Saturday, Spandau Ballet live in the studio, and we visit Radio Laser, the new North Sea pirate. Take it away, Johnny.
What you get, what you want, what you get,
Etc. Grand finale. Titles. All right, let's go home.